All right, welcome everyone to the 7th DEM I Wonder webinar. DEM has so many services, offerings, programs, and hidden gems that we want to share with all of you, so we're excited to take just a few minutes each week to highlight these features in our weekly webinar. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many exercises have been postponed or canceled. The Utah Division of Emergency Management is hosting this weekly webinar series aimed at providing local emergency managers with relevant content and opportunities to enhance their capabilities. Webinars will be live for Q&A and will be recorded for later viewing on the DEM website and YouTube channel. Most of these webinars will be workshops with a hands-on portion, which will allow emergency managers to test a DEM product or process. Our schedule today will be as follows. We'll start with our ground rules and etiquette. Next, we'll have a brief presentation, and today it's by me, Tracy Bodily, on I wonder what exercise opportunities and tools are available to Utah emergency managers. Following the presentation, there will be a hands-on portion where participants will be encouraged to test out the product or process that was presented. Following the hands-on portion of our program, I will be available for a Q&A. Following the Q&A, we'll close with a short message about upcoming webinars. The ground rules today are fairly simple. Please mute your line while the presenter is presenting. If you have a question, you may type it in the group chat or unmute at the appropriate time to ask your question. This session is being recorded and will be available on our website for future viewing. Thank you all for your attendance today, and with that, I will begin my presentation. All right, so as I said, we're talking today about exercise opportunities and tools that are available for local Utah emergency management programs. We want to help, especially during this time of COVID, help you to have as many opportunities for exercises as possible. And so I want to share with you some of the tools that we have available. So we'll begin by visiting a web browser, and you're welcome to follow along as we go. If you'll go to any browser that you have and type in your URL. The URL is dem.utah.gov/exercises. And you should be led to our website. So within our website, there is an exercise section, which is where you've gone. And the first part of our page now is our DEM Weekly I Wonder Webinar series information. If you click on the I Wonder webinar page, it will direct you to all of those recordings that I mentioned. For all of the webinars that we've been doing, we have recordings of those, and you can go back and watch any at any time, day or night. I know that that's something that you could enjoy late at night when you're just looking for something to do. Following the I Wonder webinar series on the website, we have our COVID-19 exercise tools. So these are tools that FEMA has created to help you get through this pandemic and to test for how you handle operating in a pandemic. There's an exercise starter kit for reconstituting operations. So if you have had programs within your jurisdiction that have maybe stopped during COVID-19 and you want to prepare them to come back online, this is a great exercise for them. So there's a virtual toolkit. It's for any organization across the community. There's some slides available, and then 4 discussion areas: people, facilities, messaging, communications, and resource and logistics. So this is a great tool that FEMA has created to help you through this pandemic, or help any organizations or businesses in your community to try and get through this. So that's our first tool available to you. The next tool on our website, if you notice here, it's not very obvious, but there is a form here. This is our exercise assistance request form. If you would like help creating an exercise specific for your jurisdiction, I'm always available and happy to support you in whatever way I can. We also have a new exercise support person in our agency, Jeff Frankham, and he is also available to help as we go through developing exercises with you. So you click on this form and it will take you to a Google form where you can request exercise assistance, and really just some basic questions that we want to know about what your need is and why you're requesting assistance. All right, back to the page. The next tool we have available is our exercise templates. And these are HSEEP tools. HSEEP has created a new set of doctrine for their program. HSEEP stands for Homeland Security Exercise and Evaluation Program. There are a number of tools available to you. First is what is HSEEP, and those are available in these 3 new tools. The next is the Preparedness Toolkit. Within the Preparedness Toolkit, there's all kinds of templates for exercises, and then also templates for filling out the documentation that you need for your exercise. And we'll talk a little bit about a couple of these in a few minutes. It does say that all new templates were coming summer 2020. I'll get that changed pretty soon. But this was put on hold due to COVID. As we all know, COVID kind of trumped everything in 2020. Following these templates, we have a place where you can review what exercise types are. So if you've never done an exercise before, or you've never been on the end of preparing an exercise, this is a great place to start. There's a how to create an exercise, and then we have a list of exercise types, kind of just shows a description of each of the exercise. But my favorite is the exercise type cheat sheet. So I'm going to take you to that. This shows you what each level of an exercise is called, and we say that they're kind of a building block approach. We encourage you to start with a seminar, work your way up through each of these levels, but you don't have to. You can jump ahead or move back anytime you want. But each of these exercise types, there's a little call out bubble here that will tell you what each of these exercises accomplishes. So we'll go back. So that's our exercise types cheat sheet. Following that, we have some information about core capabilities. If you've heard that term, but you're not familiar with it, these graphics will help you understand that a little bit better. If you've heard of target capabilities, maybe you were involved in emergency management a few years back, and then when you came back, you noticed target capabilities weren't around anymore. We do have the list of target capabilities here. That is an outdated practice, but it's a great tool to use when you're considering different tasks during your exercise design process. There's also the public health development capabilities, and then a universal task list. Following that, we have some information about THIRA and some information about your TEP. TEPs are now being called IPPs, and we'll talk about that. The Integrated Preparedness Planning Workshop, IPPW, replaces the TEPW, which was the Training and Exercise Planning Workshop. So this is a worksheet that we've created to help support you in conducting an Integrated Preparedness Planning Workshop, or formerly TEPW. And we have some independent study courses that we encourage you to take if you haven't already, related to how to produce exercises. Now, this next portion that I'm going to share is our table that shows you what exercise tools you should lean on when you are trying to report for EMPG. We don't require that you use these if you're not an EMPG participant, and we don't require that you stick specifically to this exact form in EMPG. We just ask that you look at these forms and utilize the content within the template. And if you have further questions about that, I'm happy to answer those questions. But these are the tools that you may be interested in using as you conduct different types of exercises. So for example, if you conduct a seminar for EMPG, you need either an AARIP or an executive summary, and at a minimum, the names of participants and agencies that were involved. but an exercise plan is not required. So each of these exercise types, this table shares with you what tools you might want to use for your exercise, and specifically what's required for participating in EMPG. And then the last item here is our planned real-world event approval form. If you're hoping to use a real-world incident, maybe a tanker has spilled in your community and you want to use that practice that you got as an exercise this year, you can fill out this form, and there's some criteria that you need to meet in order to count it as an exercise. And we also included WebEOC login so that you can report on your exercises for EMPG credit. All right, so one thing that I wanted to point out is the I Wonder webinars. For those that are not aware, these I Wonder webinars, what you're attending right now, can be counted towards EMPG credit. And so I wanted to demonstrate for you how you would do that. So for those of you that are interested in counting this exercise towards EMPG credit, you may want to follow along right now because we can complete this for you for this webinar right now. So you're going to scroll down the page. Like I said, the I Wonder is at the beginning. Scroll down the page until you see the word exercise templates, or you see this graphic here with the circle on the right-hand side. Then you'll scroll just a little bit further to where it says all new templates and find executive summary. So we're going to select executive summary and open it up. And give it just a second to load. All right, the very first thing that you're going to notice is that you can't edit this document. So you'll need to select File, Make a Copy, and you're going to change the name of it. If it'll allow me, here we go. We're going to change it to I Wonder Executive Summary, and you can put it wherever, whatever folder you want in your drive. Now, if you do not have Google Drive, you can download it as a Microsoft Word document. So we'll just select that we're going to put it in my drive. We're going to open a new tab where the document is appearing. All right, so in order to count an I Wonder webinar for EMPG credit, you need this document. You're going to change the name here to I Wonder Webinar. And you're going to change the date to whichever webinar you attended or whatever date you happen to watch the webinar. So if you decide to watch another one of the recordings today, you would put today's date, but you'd list which webinar it was. So today's date is January 14th. And you'll read in here that each of the highlighted areas tell you something different about filling out this form. So the items in blue, those are the things that you need to provide. And again, you don't have to provide it in this format. If you hate the way this is formatted, you will just want to create a Word document that contains all of the things in blue. That's perfectly fine. But if you like this format and it's easy enough for you, you can go ahead and use that. But once you have used or filled in a highlighted area, go ahead and remove the highlight so you know, okay, I added what I needed here. Again, everything in yellow is instruction, so you can remove the yellow once you are done with it. And I'm just going to delete it actually because I don't even need that content on my document. Now we encourage you to always include an exercise overview with this document. Again, nothing's required. It's up to you how you choose to format your documents, but an exercise overview template is available here if you want to click on that and add that with this document. In an I Wonder webinar, I don't feel like it's completely necessary, so we'll go ahead and delete that. Prepared by, go ahead and write in your name. I'm not going to do that right now. Why now? This is describing why you decided to attend this particular webinar. So why did you decide to attend a webinar about exercise opportunities? I needed to know what is available to me. Really short description is fine as long as you get at why you did it. Why did you attend? Then describe the exercise here. So you're just going to describe, you'll say an I Wonder webinar is an opportunity to learn about a DEM tool. I'm not going to fill out all of this right this second, but I would encourage you to do so if you are doing your own. The exercise description you could easily copy right from the email that you probably received that said in 10 minutes we'll be starting the I Wonder webinar. So go ahead and copy that description. The agencies involved. Now, of course, you're going to want to put DEM, and then you can also include yourself. So what agency are you from? So here we would just say DEM, and I happen to see that Matt Whitaker is on right now, so I'm going to say Piute County. So just like that, you've already finished that box. Next box down, what is the problem? So what was this exercise addressing? Well, exercise opportunities in a COVID environment. I know it's been really difficult for folks all across the country to fill this requirement of EMPG. You're not alone in that. Don't feel like other emergency managers are just acing this. Everywhere around the country, we've had people talking about how difficult it has been. So we hope that you'll be encouraged to know that you're not in this alone. The solution. So what solutions did this exercise present? So what did you learn? So here, I didn't know there was an exercise assistance form, or I didn't know about the COVID-19 FEMA materials that were presented. Whatever you learned, you put in this box. A core capability analysis. This is where that tricky thing called core capabilities shows up again. And I encourage you to go find your core capability list. There's 32 core capabilities. If you remember, these are listed on that webpage that I just showed you. So dem.utah.gov/exercises. Scroll down almost to the bottom and choose core capabilities. For this particular area, I would say you're probably looking at planning, operational communication, or operational coordination. Those core capabilities probably are things that you focused on during this webinar. Next steps. Now, this is a part that I can't do for you. I can't tell you what was going to work best for you, but this is where you decide what will happen next for your jurisdiction. So based on the information from this webinar today, what are you going to do next? So you might say, I'm going to use this opportunity to fill out an executive summary for I Wonder webinars in the future so that I can count them towards EMPG credit. Or maybe your next step is, I'm going to look into the COVID-19 materials that FEMA has provided, or I'm going to go to the HSEEP Preparedness Toolkit and download one of their exercise examples and utilize those for my jurisdiction. Whatever your next steps are, this is a place where you're going to fill in and reflect on how this exercise is going to help your program grow or improve. And that is it for this form. So your next step is to take it over to WebEOC and upload it into the exercise tracker. I'm not going to go through that today. That's another tool, and we will present on that another day. But if you have questions, you're welcome to contact me about it. But that really is it. That's how you count an I Wonder webinar for exercise credit. And that is a list of all of the things that you've learned today. Some COVID-19 materials are available, the exercise assistance form, exercise templates, exercise types, and now it's time for any questions. So I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you. If you want to unmute your mic, raise your hand, or go ahead and put in the chat box any questions that you might have. Looks like we have a 435 number that is unmuted. I don't know if you're looking to ask a question. Ends in 00. No. All right. Well, that is all that I have for this material. But I want to thank you all for attending today. As a reminder, this webinar and all other webinars in this series will be available on the DEM website at dem.utah.gov/exercises. Our webinar next week will be on the I Wonder topic of I Wonder What COOP is all about, presented by Angela Lang. If you have any I Wonder topic suggestions, please reach out to Bodily at utah.gov to have your topic added to our calendar. We're always excited to help you explore and get to know all that DEM can offer the emergency management community. We do have one question on the chat. It does. So Will Lusk is asking, does an I Wonder webinar also count as continuing education for EMPG credit? They do not, because we're trying to make these workshops or seminars. As far as I know, they do not. I will follow up with Tanner. If they can be counted, I'll be sure to email that out with next week's reminder email. But I don't believe that they will count. So you'll have to do like an independent study class or an in-person class if you can find one of those available. And then Janalee said, this is exactly what I need because I'm working on my EMPG reporting this week. Perfect. Thanks, Janalee. All right. With that, thank you again for joining us and continue to successfully navigate 2021 and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yep.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks, Tracy.